The Parshas Beshalach, we have a Kabbalah to speak about matters of bitachon and emunah, and today we have an amazing story that I heard from the son of Reuven Karelenstein, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, the famous Magid. Reuven Karelenstein was sick for about 40 years, kidney failures, used to go to dialysis a few times a week, a few hours every single time. After a few years that he was sick, they told him, maybe you should go to New York. There's a great chance that you'll get some kidneys over there. And he went to New York. He left a wife and 7 children behind in Israel. And he traveled to New York. He didn't know a word of English. And he sat there for 2 years waiting for a call from the hospital that they found a donor, but no donors, no kidneys. And after 2 years, somebody mentioned that perhaps it's a good idea to travel to San Francisco, where there is a very big hospital that deals with transplant, kidney transplant. There's a great chance that over there maybe he'll get the kidneys that he needs. And his friend from Eretz Yisrael, Beshalach, who is a grandson of the Divrei Chaim of Tzanz, traveled to New York to travel with Reuven Karelenstein to San Francisco. And that's what they did. They landed at 3:30 a.m. in San Francisco. And they both called their wives to tell them, we arrived, we landed, everything is okay. They went to the hotel where they're going to be staying. And at 7:30 they hear a knock on the door. Who is it? It's a police officer. Are you Karelenstein? Are you Halberstam? They're looking for you. Who's looking for us? Come with us. They go downstairs to the reception. And apparently it was a phone call for Baruch Halberstam from his wife. Reuven noticed that the discussion was heated. It wasn't a very comfortable conversation that the Baruch was having with his wife, but Reuven didn't want to get involved, so he was quiet. At the end of the conversation, they went to daven, then they went to eat, and then Reuven said, is everything okay? Perhaps there's something that I can do to help. And the Baruch felt uncomfortable, but he said, I have to tell you what happened. At 3:30 when we landed and we called our wives, my wife asked me, where are you going to be staying? What is the phone number in that hotel? And I said, I don't know what it is. I'm not going to find out now. It's 3:30 in the morning. I'll call you in the morning in a few hours. And she says, no, I think you should give me the number now, because what if they call from New York and they say they found somebody to donate the kidneys? The law at that time in New York was that once the hospital calls, you only have 3 hours to respond, and you have 8 or 9 hours to go to the hospital. So I need to have the phone number where you're going to be staying, says the wife of Baruch Halberstam. And he tells her, our friend Reuven has been in New York for 2 years and nobody called. You think they're going to call now in the next 3 to 4 hours when I'm sleeping? Don't worry about it. And she insisted, and I insisted. And then we went to the hotel. And the reason she called me at 7:30 was to tell me that 10 minutes after we hung up, in fact, they called from New York and they said, we have kidneys for your friend. And she started calling all over to find out where we are, but she couldn't do it. It was 40 years ago. There's no cell phones. Nobody knew. And then she got a hold of us finally at 7:30 to tell me that just a few minutes before they called again from the hospital to say that they can't wait anymore. And they transferred the kidneys to the next one on the list. Reuven hears this and he stands up and he starts dancing. And the Baruch Halberstam looks at him and he says, what's going on? And Reuven starts dancing and he can't stop and he smiles. He's so happy. And the Baruch Halberstam thought, I guess he lost it. It's been a few years that he's sick. 2 years here in New York by himself. No wife and no children. Doesn't know the language. Now he schlepped all the way to the West Coast, San Francisco. He probably lost it. And Reuven keeps on dancing. And after a few minutes he says to Rabbi, why don't you join me? Let's dance together. And they dance. And they dance. And they dance. And then Reuven says, I got to call my wife. I got to tell her this is great. They run to the phone. Reuven calls his wife and says, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. She says, what happened? She says, it's a Yom Tov. And she asks him, what Yom Tov are you talking about? And he says, they just called from New York. They had kidneys for me, but we didn't call back in time. Baruch Hashem, apparently HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves me so much, and he knew that these kidneys will not be good for me, and therefore he sent me all the way to the other side of the United States to make sure that they don't put these kidneys in me, because they probably would have killed me. Oh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves me so much. What a yontif it is today. Little did he know that those 2 kidneys were contaminated. They put him in 2 goyim. Initially everything was okay, but after 3 days they both died. It is one thing to talk about emunah. It is something else to live emunah and bitachon. There was a melamed in the cheder, a rebbe of little children, who told him, tomorrow we're going on a field trip. We're going to an area where there might be some dogs, but don't worry. There's a sgula from the nefesh hachaim. All you have to say is, ein od milvadoi, and that will protect you. There's also a sgula to say a pasuk. Uluvnei Yisrael lo yechiratz kelev leshono. That will protect you from the dogs. Don't worry if dogs come. And he convinced all the kids. They traveled the following day, and as soon as they got off the bus, a couple of dogs came and started barking, and the Melamed was the first one to jump on a tree. He climbed all the way on top of the tree, and all the kids ran away. And after a few minutes, the dogs went away. The Rebbe came off the tree. All the kids came back, and they all looked at him and said, what happened to the sgula of the nefesh hachaim? Ein od milvadoi. What happened to that pasuk you told us yesterday? You told us it's a sgula. Ulevnei Yisrael lo yechiratz kelev leshon. What happened to the sgula of the nefesh hachaim into this pasuk? And the Rebbe said to them, no, you're right. The sgula is fantastic. The only problem is I noticed that these dogs are not familiar with the sgula. They're not familiar with this pasuk. Some people speak about emunah. They talk about it all day long. Some people actually live emunah and bitachon.